Before I open the hearing for the Barnstable Conservation Commission, I would like to ask Angela to do a roll call for the quorum purpose.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Abadili.
Present.
Foster.
Present.
Hearn.
Present.
Kashulik.
Yes. Present.
Lee.
Present.
Tangney present. Sampu.
Present.
Interim Administrator Ed Hoops.
Present.
And Staff Member Kim Kavanaugh.
Present.
All are present, Mr. Chair. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Acting under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and or Chapter 237 of the Code of the Town of Barnstable, the Barnstable Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, February the 4th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. for the applications of Emily Dawn Kunze, Trustee Emily Dawn Kunze, Revocable Trust, Matthew T. and Stacy L. Owens, N-Star Electric Company. The hearing is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. The plans and application are on file and may be reviewed by scheduling appointments by sending email requests to @hoops at 230 South Street, Hyannis. In accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20, please let the chair know if anyone is recording this meeting. Hearing none. This evening's hearing agenda is posted on the town's website. On the agenda, next to each application is the amount owed to the Town of Barnstable for the cost of advertising. Please send your checks to the Conservation Division at 230 South Street before the hearing. Remote participations. The Conservation Commission's public hearing will be held by remote participation as a result of an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency cited by the Governor on March 29, 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Remote public access to this hearing shall be provided in the following manner. 1, the hearing will be televised via Xfinity Channel 8 or High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via Town of Barnstable's Government's Access Channel. 2, the real-time public comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom link 810-3253-4456 or use the toll-free phone number 888-475-4499 as shown on the agenda. 3rd, the public can also email their comments to ed.hoops@town.barnstable.ma.us at least 8 hours prior to the hearing. Tonight, we have an old and new business to discuss. Let me read that item first. Commission's discussions on the proposed changes to special conditions, boilerplate, and Chapter 707, regulation governing the minimum submissions requirement for a notice of intent applications, and Chapter 710, guidelines for submitting a request for determinations of applicability, RDA applications. So let's go on one by one. There's 2 boilerplate. The first one I want to go to is standard with the coastal. There's only one line changes on page 2. Does the commissioner look at that? Do they have any questions? It's very straightforward. No?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead. Bill.
I think we're talking about the one where it refers to, says the applicant shall obtain a building permit for the proposed pier from the Town Building Commission. It used to be. And is there now no building permit? Did something change? And why?
Nothing has changed. Nothing is. They don't get the building permit, so there's no reason to tell them they have to.
Okay.
In fact, isn't it true that our guidelines require that?
Who's that, John?
Yes. I'm sorry, I just jumped in here. No, I'm sorry. I'm wrong. I think our regulations require that the house obtain the occupancy permit, right?
Right.
Oh, okay, I messed up, Bill. Apologize.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, whatever.
Okay. Could I have a motion to approve this change on this boilerplate with the standard coastal on it.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Tangney, aye. Sampu,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The next set of the boilerplate is not stamped with coastal, so it's nothing on the stamp on there. So, and that one is on page 3 and 4, that there is some minor changes. Ed, you want to go through that, mention it?
Okay, so on page 3, number 24, we always ask for some indication as to whether or not roof runoff will be either trench or downspouts, and we always have it indicated on the plan. So this is just it's a housekeeping issue, just to basically say, as indicated on the plan, whatever they chose on the plan. That's the first one. The second one, this is, but it's amending number 32 and adding a new 33. This is more housekeeping than anything else. It just made it very, very confusing the way it's written, and we were running into issues where people were getting confused as to what they should and shouldn't be putting in the mitigation areas. So again, this is just to show that what we're asking is that, you know, you're not supposed to be putting any mulch in the mitigation area. You're asked to either seed it with a native seed mix between the plants and let that intersperse, or to allow the area to naturalize. And then we're also moving to that vein then to say specifically that mulch is in the mitigation areas is not allowed except under drip lines, because we've been running into a lot of issues where people have been putting mulch throughout the mitigation area that does not allow for an easy naturalization of the area then, so it becomes more of a manicured area. And I think that's all we have for this one.
Thank you, Ed. I think that's pretty straightforward too, especially on the mulch. We have been practicing not allowing the mulch in that area. Bill.
Yeah, I think they're good changes. The only question I have is not about the changes, but on the first page, it refers to the Hamblin Conservation Fund. And I just, I've never heard of that, and I wondered if somebody could clue me in on what that is. And when we're talking about in lieu fee, that's something we are generally reluctant to do, but that's
what we set up under the conservation. If we approve of a mitigations in lieu of the fee, for the fee, then the fund will go into this Hamlin Fund. That's what they call it.
I think Bill is asking, what is the Hamlin?
What is it? What is the Hamlin? Yeah, what is that? I don't know about it. I'm just, while we're talking, here it is. Tell me about it. What is that? I'm new, relatively.
Yeah, that it is the fund that we put the in lieu fees into, and it's, again, that fund is used specifically for conservation related activities. So if we would need to do like an erosion control project or some other type of project within the buffer zone or within the wetland areas, we would be able to go. If we didn't have, we have a normal operating fund that we use for land management. They get $20,000 for that every year. But if we have a big project, something that would cost, $40,000 or something, we could come to the Conservation Commission and ask for the use of funds out of the Hamlin Fund to do those activities. So a few years back, I think Darcy had actually used some of those funds to do some of the improvements to the trail over at Long Beach Conservation Area that was putting in an at-grade walkway.
So it's kind of like
access.
so it's kind of like a bank account, if you will.
Correct. It's just a
Yes.
bank account.
Okay, Hamblin is all over my neighbors. I live in Marston's Mills, near the Hamblin Bogs, and I wondered if it was something specific to Hamblin, but no, it's just like a bank account. Thank you.
Yeah, just from the accounting standpoint, that's what they called it.
Okay.
That's even before my time. I don't know
Okay.
whether John can chime in or not if you can remember.
No, I know that Darcy wanted this. I know that she's used it before. It's also a pretty small amount of money because as Bill says, we generally are reluctant to go down this road. So
Yeah.
pretty de minimis kind of thing to me.
I just wondering. I approve. I move that we accept the changes that are proposed.
Second
Second.
motion then.
Roll call.
Tangney, aye. Sampu,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Koshulik,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. Then the next one is chapter 707. Ed, do you want to go through the 707?
Okay, and again, just really all of these changes are more for housekeeping purposes. We're not really substantially changing any of the regulations. We're just trying to make them a little bit clearer and more understandable, and removing some of the references to things that are no longer valid. So part of it is to change from Darcy's contact information for filing notice of intent applications over to add my name and email and contact information in her place. Some of the more so again, it's not substantive because it's really pretty much the same thing. We've just made it a list form to make it a little easier for people to follow along, but under section 5D, we're adding again. We're not really adding anything. We're just saying there should be a landscaping plan associated when you're doing mitigation areas, and that those plans are necessary to at least have this bare minimum information as part of the planting plan. So that we know what we're planting, where we're planting it, and how we're protecting it in the future. So it goes through species, looking at both vegetative height, encouraging vegetative height diversity, species diversity, and size diversity to improve densities there. Area calculations, that's just the standard mitigation tables that you already do and already have always asked for, both in the 0, 50, 50 to 100. Again, noting how much mitigation area is required, how much mitigation area is proposed. There should be a note somewhere on the plan indicating that the area between the proposed plants will either be planted with an appropriate native seed mix or left to naturalize. Again, that goes back to jibe with the new boilerplate conditions. And then a note stating mulch may only be used under the drip lines of proposed plants. And I think, and looking at all of that, we did want to add something to, again, it was just more for, again, to clarify, and that was looking under, it would be 5D number 6, the next one in line there, that we're looking to, what's the wording here I'm looking for?
let me mention that it's the wording would be like providing that the demarcation markers along the landward side of the mitigation planting area. The type of the demarcation shall be selected from the list approved by the conservation divisions. Is that the one?
That's it. Thank you, Tom. I couldn't find it in my notes here.
Any questions, Bill?
No, I guess no one lowered my hand. I didn't have a question.
Okay,
I do, Tom.
John?
Yeah, that, and I know you sent that email out, Tom, that last edition. Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know there are a number of cases where we would ask Darcy, do you want mitigation markers? And she would say, no, this specific type clearly does not require markers. If you add this in, that takes away our flexibility or the staff flexibility to say that applicant doesn't need them. So why are we mandating it when in the past we have not always required it depending on the specific site? We're changing what our past practice was if we add this in. That's my question.
Yeah, so again, it's one of those things, we put it in, you always have that option to say that in this case you don't need it. And certainly around areas where there were smaller mitigation planting areas or areas that are just not likely to be intruded upon again, you wouldn't necessarily need a demarcation. But in a large variety of the mitigation areas that we have, we need to have something because people are not respecting that mitigation area.
Well, I do think, Ed, that in most cases, the mitigation markers are the right way to go. And I think in most cases, we have said that, especially with staff, Darcy usually recommends, yeah, we should have markers, or Tom generally brings that up a lot too, I think. But again, the way it's written now, it becomes kind of like a pre-mandated requirement. Maybe the language should be modified slightly to say that mitigation markers are generally required, but maybe forgiven depending, may not be required depending on the specific site, or some word just to make clear what our practice currently is and has been, and I guess should continue.
John, to answer your question, I think in the last few hearings, at least I remember, is we keep asking for it. And I just don't want to forget this and then leave it in there in case we want to delete it because it's so small area that we may not want to have the mitigation area. Then we can remove this from the boilerplate.
Okay, but again, just the way
Well, it would not be included in the special conditions.
What, Ed?
So, I mean, you have the option of saying, no, it's not needed in this case, and we just wouldn't add it into the special conditions when we're writing the order.
Okay, all right. I'm probably arguing over really not insignificant thing. The only thing I want to clearly restate, I think I am saying, and I guess everybody would agree, I don't know, that mitigation markers are generally required, but depending on the site, they may not be. That's been our practice, and I assume that is unchanged. Is that correct, Ed and Tom?
Correct.
Generally,
Okay.
yes.
Fine.
Angela?
Yeah, I was just saying, I think we're just trying to make it easier so we're opting out if they don't have them, so we don't have to keep mentioning it every time. I think we're saying the same thing, John.
Yeah. No problem.
Also, if we don't, it kind of prevents us from forgetting about it accidentally. I mean, it's covered.
That's just you older people that have to look out forgetting.
Oh, we're getting old.
Not we young kids. I was kidding, Louise.
What did you say? I missed what you said.
There's nothing about older people forgetting.
Oh,
But I really was joshing. Sorry.
Pete,
Okay,
All right.
so yeah, I just completely support what Louise said. It's easier for us to become easier, but to have it in writing means we don't forget it.
Yeah.
No problem, guys. Really, I'm
Got it.
on board.
Okay, thank you.
Could I have a motion to approve the Chapter 707 as amended?
So moved.
second,
Roll call.
Tangney, aye. Sampu?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Koshulik,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And the last one is chapter 710, Ed.
And again, this is really solely housekeeping for the most part here. We do have, again, it was just to change contact information, just to make the process a little bit clearer, especially with the RDA applications. It was just there were some places where we just could tighten up the language, make it a little clearer and more concise. Make it easier for people to fill out the RDA application correctly on the first time, so they don't have to make repeated copies and go through repeated rejections. So it's more housekeeping for this.
Thank you, Ed. Any question from the commissioner? Seeing none, could I have a motion to approve the chapter 710 as amended?
Second.
Roll call.
Tangney, aye. Sampu?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Koshulik,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you. We have,
John, just a general comment. I think we should commend Ed and the staff for the work they did on these things. It's, minor changes, but a lot of effort. So well done to the staff group, Ed, and you in particular.
Thank you to Kim. She was the one who was instrumental in all that. So
I knew Kim was the star.
she's lived and experienced it all. So that she was wise to the vagaries of applications. So
Well done, Kim.
yep, thank you.
Yep.
Kim.
Thank you.
We have 3 NOIs tonight. The first one is Emily Dawn Kunzi's trustees, Emily Dawn Kunzi Revocable Trust, to demolish an existing single-family dwelling and construct a new dwelling, driveway and pool with all associated appurtenances at 200 North Bay Road, Osterville, as shown on the assessors map 073, parcel 011. John?
Good evening, everyone. John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting, representing the applicant. Also with us this evening in the meeting room are some representatives from PSD who have been preparing the building plans and will be constructing this dwelling. I will bring up the plan for you all. As was indicated, this project's located at 200 North Bay in Osterville on Oyster Harbors. It's about a 1.3 acre parcel. It's developed with a single family dwelling that was shown with this hatch line, constructed originally around 1949. Some significant additions done in the 80s. We have an existing bulkhead and pier, all permitted. Our resources are land under ocean, coastal bank and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Again, that toe of that coastal bank being protected by the existing bulkhead. Our existing dwelling, portions of that are located within the 50-foot buffer to the top of the coastal bank. The project as proposed is to demolish that dwelling, construct a new dwelling and pool. The proposed dwelling is being pulled landward. It is located, partially within the footprint of the existing dwelling, mostly landward of the existing dwelling, a substantial portion of it pulled completely outside of the buffer zone. We do have a pool area proposed between the dwelling and the bank. That's been situated outside of the 50-foot buffer, kind of in the side yard of where the existing dwelling is. Project results in a significant reduction in hardscape within the 50-foot buffer, a slight increase in the 100-foot buffer, provided all the calculations. We've come up with the mitigation areas as shown on the plans. Again, I think that this is an overall improvement to the site by increasing separation to the bank, increasing reduction in footprints within the 50-foot buffer, really not a substantial increase in the overall square footage of mass of the building at all. It is outside of the buffer zones, a little bit of a tricky site in that we do kind of come up the hill from the street, a little plateau, and then back down the bank. I think that the architects have come up with a footprint that really pulls that house away as much as they can from the bank, still provides a driveway in, still provides an area for a septic system well outside of the buffer zone. We do have a limit of work proposed, drainage, we've specified the pool disinfection, kind of all the standards. I think with that, I would be happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have.
Thank you, John. Any question from the commissioner?
I have one.
Hi, Louise.
There is a path that goes along the top of the bank through some of the mitigation that's shown on the drawing.
That's true, yes.
So I'm wondering why it isn't a more direct path. It seems to be longer than it needs to be.
The landscape there is sloping. I think that's generally in the area where there's the existing stairway that was kind of like, they weren't like a vertical set of stairs, but sort of a series of landings that went down. So we are kind of traversing a little bit of a side slope there. And again, following kind of where the existing path is and just trying to beef up the buffer zone around it. That's the reason of where and why it's located.
I can understand that there would be a path located there. It's just I don't understand why it needs to be so long. I would think a more direct path, maybe even more stairs to handle any slope that you're worried about, could be more desirable than having that long path. Just a thought.
I understand. I think that we were trying to get to where the existing actual, typical stairway is located. So we were trying to kind of end all the access points where the existing access is, as opposed to creating any new disturbances in the buffer zone.
Is that an existing path, John?
Maybe I can zoom in here. I think that there's a stairway there in the area now.
The fact that you're putting mitigation there says it's pretty open.
I think that there is lawn around, but there is, I can see the stairway that's existing is located
right there.
Right there. So we're really sort of trying to kind of would prefer not to have the structure, but we are still kind of going across the slope and trying to follow that.
Thank you.
You've got a path there, and it's at the top of the bank, along the top of the bank. You're going to have foot traffic there, which is not going to be good for at the top of the bank, in spite of the fact that you've got some plantings there. I mean, it's probably not great for the plantings either. But again, just a thought. I don't know how others feel about it.
Thank you, Louise. Bill?
Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know, I guess I'm torn about this project. I mean, I think the fact that the hardscape is reduced ultimately and it's mitigated properly makes me feel like I'm going out on a limb. But I guess I have a philosophical problem, and let me just vent it. The old house had a patio deck that was 1,879 square feet. The new house, I'm glad it's moved back, it now has a patio and deck that's 2,540 square feet. It's a 661 square foot increase in a fairly expansive patio and deck. And I'm noticing that proposed patio as we're looking at this figure, kind of on the, as it called, the northern side, it's overhanging a bank. And it just seems like, I know that per our regs, it's probably permittable, but to have that extra size patio deck system now jutting out like that, it's kind of like, do they need it? But I don't know. I get a little heartburn looking at that ever expanded patio area, especially over an overhang on a bank. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. Any other questions from the commissioner? Seeing none,
Just
John.
to sort of respond to that one comment,
go ahead.
I understand and we've tried to sort of take the bulk of the patios and everything out of the 50-foot buffer, which I think is the direction we all like seeing going. If we just compare the proposed patio with the existing deck and patio, which again, trying to kind of highlight where it is now, we're working within its area, and patio deck to patio deck within the 0 to 50, is also a reduction. So reducing building, rough numbers, 500 square feet, reducing patio and deck 300 square feet. So I hear the comment, but again, trying to kind of work within the area, pull away, reduce,
Right.
or work with what we can.
But there is a increase in the overall patio and deck. I mean, it's a philosophical thing. I know that it probably complies with our guidelines. But.
Thanks, Bill. Pete?
Yeah, I think this is overall an improvement. But I would just like to confirm that normally in a complete tear down, we apply as though it were a brand new site. Now we're giving some latitude here. We're working with the applicant and his consultant, and I think, again, as I will repeat, that it is better. But again, we're giving some latitude here to John, and I think it's fair. So thank you.
Thank you, Pete. So, John, two things I'm thinking. Number one is the demarcation line for the mitigation area. And the second one is I'm looking at an ending report for 3 years. Is that okay with you?
I think those are both fine. I would say that, along this stretch where my pen is, we have a fence, which I think is the demarcation.
Right.
And then where it opened up, we did, and maybe it's hard to see, but we did have a note about providing demarcation and have them kind of shown 1, 2, like 3, 4 along this stretch to make sure. So I think that they're on the plan there, but if it's a condition, it's always a condition.
The other one is the right on top of the bank there. I mean, on top of the bank there. Yeah.
On top of the bulkhead,
Yeah.
we could add some more to the plan in this area just to make sure that you're absolutely right. We could do a revision to add them into that area.
Right.
Tom, if I could, just with the path, since you've got a path going through the mitigation area, is there a way to delineate or demarcate that path so you don't get some sort of creek going, as you continue to use the path?
We could demarcate the path as well.
So, I mean, it just has to be something small, but that's...
Yeah.
Yep.
Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
None. Let me try this. Could I have a motion to approve this project subject to the receipt of a revised plan showing the demarcations line on top of the bank there and the path and the report for 3 years?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
A less than enthusiastic aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Tang, aye. Sampu.
Aye.
That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, everyone.
The second NOI is Matthew T. and Stacy L. Owens to modify and expand existing patio at 132 Bayshore Road, Hyannis, as shown on the Assessors Map 325, parcel 080. John?
Good evening, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting again. I will, let me flip the plan. And I will bring this up for you all. Right. This project site is located at 132 Bayshore Road in Hyannis. It's a site that is probably familiar to 6 out of 7 of you. We were before you this fall, generally for this project under an RDA. It did not pass on a 3-3 decision. It was for a proposed patio. I think some of the commissioners expressed concern about, being able to enforce the planting areas that have been proposed and maybe a lack of detail. I'll flip to the landscape plan in 1 minute. I did want to note to the commission, and we will correct it, that there's a typo on this plan. It says 40-foot patio, and it's really like 31. So I will be correcting that as we move forward. But flipping to the landscape plan, so the beds and the pretty colors and the shrubs and everything was all on the original one, but they have sort of turned that into a more detailed list, quantities, sizes of the species that would be going into there. I have flipped back to the site plan. We did provide all the buffer zone calculations. This patio's outside the 50-foot buffer, basically where the existing patio is. Slight increase in size, kind of wrapping around the edges of it. Should have no impact on the coastal bank, which is armored. I hope that through this filing, we've cleared up any of the concerns that some of the commissioners may had, and would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John. Let me go to Ed first. Ed, what's your comment about the planting, proposed planting?
Yeah, I've got to tell you, John, my hats off to the landscape architect or the designer. I think it's a tremendous planting plan. It does everything that we would hope for and ask for in terms of species diversity, vegetative height diversity, and good coverage across the entire area. It's an ideal plan.
And
Thank you, Ed.
Prepared by Mainstay. I think Jay may be in the meeting room with us. I don't see everyone, but
Well done.
I'll make sure that that's noted.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Jay. Angela.
Yes, I also wanted to thank you because I was one of the commissioners that had voted this was a positive determination, and I love this now. Thank you very much for coming back and doing that. I appreciate it.
Any other question from the commissioner?
I would just say what Angela said.
Thanks, Bill. So again, you are going to supply a revised plan showing changing the patio dimensions. I think we will be looking at for a demarcation line for the mitigation planning area, and then an annual report for 3 years. Is that okay to you?
It's understood.
Okay. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
Seeing none.
Could I have a motion to approve this project subject to the receipt of a revised plan showing the patio dimensions and the demarcation line and an annual report for 3 years?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Koshulet,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tang, aye, Sampu.
Aye.
That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
Thank you, everybody.
The last NOI of the evening is N-Star Electric Company. Constructions of a new electric transmission line and relocate the truck distribution line on existing right-of-way and electric substation expansion work at right-of-way number 342 and existing substations at 625 and 661 Oak Street, West Barnstable, as shown on the Assessors Map 194, Parcel 021, and Assessors Map 195, Parcel 029. Jack?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I begin my presentation, I was going to invite Peter DeFusco from Eversource Environmental to make an introductory statement.
Sure. Hi, Pete.
Thanks, Jack. Hello.
Hi.
My name is Peter DeFusco. I'm a senior environmental specialist for Eversource, and I'm the applicant for the project tonight. Tonight before you is the Cape Cod Solution Program Phase 2, and as Mr. Chairman mentioned, it involves selective tree removal within our rights-of-way number 342, as well as some transmission work within buffer zone to areas subject to jurisdiction at our West Barnstable substation at numbers 625 and 661 Oak Street. This also includes some underground transmission work and an overhead transmission structure. Before Jack leads into his presentation tonight, I just wanted to let Mr. Chairman know that we do have a few other project team members here tonight from Eversource. We have some folks from the engineering project team, and we have some folks from our project outreach team, just in case there happens to be any questions for Eversource that fall out of the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. We'd like to make sure that folks know there's an outlet for that. Without further ado, our representative from the project's Epsilon Associates, Jack Vaccaro. And take it away, Jack. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Well, good evening, commissioners. Good evening, Ed and Kim. My name is Jack Vaccaro, and I'm a lead scientist with Epsilon Associates, an environmental consulting and engineering firm based in Maynard, Massachusetts. We filed a notice of intent on behalf of Eversource Energy in accordance with the State Wetlands Protection Act and Barnstable Wetlands Protection Bylaw, seeking an order of conditions that authorizes work associated with the expansion of the West Barnstable substation on Oak Street and some tree clearing activity along the existing Eversource electric transmission corridor in West Barnstable. Before I continue, I'd just like to introduce those other members that are in the audience this evening and able to answer questions as necessary. They include John Zico from Eversource Substation and Transmission Engineering, Stephen Dudek from Eversource Community Outreach, and Robin Reed, civil engineer from Burns & McDonnell, who prepared the stormwater report that accompanied the notice of intent application. A few administrative matters. I have emailed proof of the abutter mailings to Kim and provided a check for the legal ad fee. The portion of the project is located in mapped habitat for state-listed species, and as per the regulations, a copy of the NOI was forwarded to Natural Heritage for review and comment. And last week, they did provide a letter for the Commission's files determining that the proposed work will not adversely affect rare species habitats. Natural Heritage also had previously issued a separate approval under the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act to Eversource back in December. And one last thing, we just before your hearing began this evening, we did receive a DEP file number. It is DEP 03-6344. So I'm going to just...
Yeah, I think it's 6244.
Oh, sorry, 6244, Tom. Yeah, sorry. So for a project overview, the project is referred to as the Cape Cod Solution Program Phase 2. It involves construction of a new 345 kV substation on Joint Base Cape Cod in Bourne and expansion of the existing West Barnstable substation on Oak Street in Barnstable. It also involves tree removals along the south side of the Eversource right-of-way that extends between those two substations. Within Barnstable, the electric transmission corridor is regularly maintained in accordance with Eversource vegetation management plans, and the upland areas within the right-of-way 342 are typical of an actively maintained right-of-way consisting of mixed of grasslands and shrub area. Just to quickly point out, the two tree removal areas are represented by these blue stars on the USGS map. One here in the West Barnstable Conservation Area, and one down here by Sandy Hill Pond. And then, of course, the West Barnstable Substation down here in the lower right on Oak Street. So most of the right-of-way crosses through areas that are well removed from wetland resource areas, but it does pass through those two areas that are subject to the jurisdiction of the Barnstable Conservation Commission. And as I mentioned, one of those is in the West Barnstable Conservation Area, where there's a wetland located just south of the transmission corridor. The other is a more significant wetland complex that occurs just east of Pine Street, where there are active commercial cranberry bogs and wetlands associated with Sandy Hill Pond and Spruce Pond. Additionally, there is a small isolated vegetated wetland adjacent to the West Barnstable Substation. There are no areas of floodplain or certified vernal pools within the project area. As I previously mentioned, a portion of the right-of-way in Barnstable is mapped estimated habitat and priority habitat for state-listed animal species, primarily a turtle species, and some rare plant species. We've been coordinating closely with Natural Heritage for several years now on this project, including conducting radiotelemetry work and nest surveys for turtle species and plant surveys. As noted, the Natural Heritage Program has recently approved the project under MESA and has provided comment letter for the Commission's files. So we're first going to turn our attention to the tree removal work. This is a aerial view of the wetland that's in the West Barnstable Conservation Area. At that location, 6 trees are going to be removed from the buffer zone to that isolated vegetated wetland. That's again just located directly south of the right-of-way. No trees are being removed from the wetland, and all of the required tree removals are going to be conducted within the right-of-way in accordance with Eversource's approved vegetation management plan. Our other location at Sandy Hill Pond, where tree removals are required, there a total of 5 trees will be removed from a bordering vegetated wetland associated with Sandy Hill Pond, and 14 others will be removed from the adjacent buffer zone. The tree removals at both of these locations will be conducted without any mechanized equipment entering the wetland areas. All the trees to be removed will be cut at grade, and stumps will be left in place. No ground disturbance is anticipated. Switching now to the West Barnstable Substation. That substation is located on a site of approximately 15 acres. That also is occupied by a 115 kV to 25 kV substation known as the Oak Street Substation. The Oak Street Substation is the smaller substation located closer to Oak Street. The substation that's being expanded is the larger substation known as the West Barnstable Substation, which is closer to Route 6. The West Barnstable and Oak Street substations each have their own fenced yard, and a network of gravel roads provides access from Oak Street. As I mentioned, a locally jurisdictional isolated vegetated wetland is present in a depressional area located between the substations. That's this orange area here. The undeveloped upland areas of the site are characterized as pine oak forest. Work required within the 100-foot buffer zone of this isolated vegetated wetland includes temporary work pad construction, tree removal and foundation installation associated with new transmission structure 92, that's right here, and temporary work pad construction associated with new transmission structure 88, which is located outside of the wetland buffer zone up near Oak Street. Approximately 2,600 square feet of wooded area will be cleared from within the buffer zone to facilitate these activities. No trees will be removed within 50 feet of the isolated vegetated wetland. Trenching and backfilling primarily within existing access to install new underground transmission duct banks extending from the new transmission structures 88 and 91 will also be performed to connect the structures to the expanded West Barnstable substation. Also included is the installation of stormwater management facilities in accordance with Mass DEP standards, consisting of underdrains, vegetated swales, riprap, and outlet protection. Also grading, placement of crushed stone pad, and installation of chain link perimeter fencing. And of course, mitigation plantings and site restoration. Take a look at the plan that was submitted with this. Sorry. With respect to the mitigation, Eversource proposes to enhance a portion of the previously disturbed buffer zone at the West Barnstable substation site. More specifically, a native shrub community will be created within a 1,000 square foot area located in a previously disturbed portion of the 50 to 100 foot buffer zone. The proposed plantings include northern bayberry and highbush blueberry, and Eversource also proposes to stabilize the graded area with a native seed mix, further enhancing the condition of the buffer zone and the site in general following construction. Lastly, the balance of the notice of intent describes other best management practices that will be followed by Eversource during construction and how the project has been designed to comply with local and state performance standards. I'm going to put up on the screen right now Stephen's contact information. As Peter mentioned, Stephen is the community outreach person assigned to this project, and he will be available to answer any non-wetland related questions that might come up this evening. And I'll just leave this up for a few minutes in case people want to snap a picture of it. But other than that, I'm going to stop right here and we'll take any questions that the commission or the public may have. Thank you.
Jack, can you go back to the mitigation planting plan? So this one, we don't have it in your package that's showing the mitigation planting area. So is this a separate drawing or?
No, no, Mr. Chairman, this is actually from the plan set.
What sheet is that?
I believe it's 105.
Okay. 105.
Sorry, 6104, Mr. Chairman.
Because I was looking at it where and all that stuff. I couldn't find it, so.
Yeah, apologies for that. I was talking with Ed earlier, and he mentioned that you were having some difficulty finding it, and I can see why. There's a lot of information on that plan, but it is there.
Well, on the one on the 6104 is black and white. It's not quite clear. Okay,
Yes.
the color one show up better than that.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, so I mean, I would prefer to have a color one so that the staff don't have to go and look and try to find it.
I understand.
Question, Angela.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Will this plan still have, and I could have missed this in the reading, 2 fire access points? Is it still only having 2, or are there additional fire access points on this plan?
I'm not sure I understand exactly what the commissioner means, Mr. Chairman. Can you elaborate, please?
In lieu of a fire or an emergency, how many access points will this site have? Currently now, what does it have currently? My understanding was it has 2 right now. Will there be any additional access points of entry should there be a fire on the property?
No additional access points are proposed, no.
Okay, thank you.
Just think too. Okay. Any other questions from the commissioner?
Tom, are we specifically talking about the Oak Street piece or the other 2 sites headed west?
This is the Oak Street site.
Just the Oak Street, correct?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
None.
They're doing all 3. They're doing the West Barnstable on the right of way, Big Sandy or Sandy Hill Pond
For the tree
and
removal, yes.
the substation.
So it's all three.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
my understanding.
Yeah, yeah, Tom, could we come back to the Sandy Lee site by chance, please?
Thank you, Jack.
You're welcome.
Do you have a question, Jeff, on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of trees within the wetland and within the 50-foot. As I think you all know, this is my third meeting, and last week we denied the removal of 3 trees that were in a similar situation. I'm just having a struggle getting around this particular spot right here. Even though I know they're cutting it flush, there's no pictures of anything as to what all the understory growth is. I don't know who owns the land to the north of this. You know, if there's any way to, to pull the easement, further away from the wetland. I'm just exploring, asking questions.
If I could add to that question, Tom.
What?
If I could add to that
Yeah,
question, I guess I would phrase it just a little differently and say, why is it necessary for this project to cut all of those trees?
Yeah. I'll try to answer that, but
Jack, would you like me to answer that?
Yeah. Thank you, Peter.
Sure. All right. So when we came through this commission, we came through before with Cape Cod Solution Program Phase 1. It's called the Mid-Cape Reliability Project. What that project was, it was a new transmission line within this existing rights-of-way 342. So that transmission line is already in place. The infrastructure is there. What's happening is the voltage is being proposed to up. So the tree clearance standards have to abide by a more stringent standard. So we need to remove these trees in order to operate at that voltage. For the removal of the trees, we propose to do that by hand, right? We don't want to bring any sort of equipment or machinery into the wetland. And we can also have those winched and dragged out, so we won't leave any debris in the wetland or the buffer zone either. But specifically, as far as changing the rights that Eversource owns, that's not something that I've ever heard of being done. I think it would be a major undertaking. And what they own now, I mean, I think we all know how valuable land is on the Cape. The benefit of this project doing it here was there was an existing rights of way that the transmission line could go in without having to disturb acres and acres of land and trees. So the project went here in the existing rights of way, and now they're upping the voltage of the existing line. I'm not saying I know every alternative. I'm a natural resource person, not an electrical engineer, but I would assume if you had to construct a new 345 kV line and you had to place it elsewhere, it could mean lots more disturbance. So this line was picked, and as Jack did lead with, there's not a whole lot of wetlands on this route, so it really was helpful from a wetland standpoint. Unfortunately, we're now coming back to the commission with phase 2, and we have these tree removals, and we have scrutinized this area. This is the least amount that we can take to achieve what we need to in order to have this project operate at the voltage that it needs to operate at.
Yeah, Tom, if I could reply to that, there's 19 trees between 0 and 50 feet that are with no pictures, no anything outside of just this photo or this picture we're looking at right here. You know, in terms of winching the trees out, there's certainly going to be. What is the undergrowth right here? Is it grassland? Is it what type of species are surrounding this tree area?
So it's a mix of grassland and shrubs. So you have scrub oak, you have a lot of briars, you have raspberry, you have bayberry. There's just a good mix of shrubs that are maintained in that corridor.
Right. If I may add to that, I think some additional shrub species we saw as you get close to the wetland, or some of your typicals, clethra alnifolia, your sweet pepper bush,
Yes.
and your high bush blueberry. As
I
far as
get-
the oak species, when I saw this, I was, I guess, more so pleased to see that it was all 2 species. Right, it kind of shows that there is a very high population of this species there. Right, so it's not, it's not wiping it out by any means. And what we will do, right, rights of way, it creates a different kind of habitat close to a water body. One could say that this would actually benefit biodiversity and how we're letting some of the light into the shrub species here. And then the existing forest that continues to surround the wetland could be a habitat betterment to diversify with more of the scrub shrub and lower growing that Jack mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, to then the forested area around the wetlands.
Thank you, Jack. Jeff, you have a follow-up question?
Yeah, I mean, if this is a residential site, there's no way this happens.
Right.
So
Right.
that's my problem.
So maybe I can help clarify something here. As an electric transmission project, this is what's called a limited project that is afforded certain considerations because of the nature of the project. In other words, you're not held to the same performance standards when working in a wetland for a project like this. It's understood that a cross-country pipeline or transmission line is going to have to cross wetlands at some point. And so there are provisions in the regulations that allow for this sort of activity to occur.
Thank you, Jack. Bill?
Yeah, I think Jeffrey brings up a good point that I want to say it was last week, or perhaps it was 2 weeks ago, whatever. We ended up, and he was there, we ended up having a site, it was a residential zone, and there were 3 trees, and they were sitting right on the edge of the wetland. And we went, no, you got to preserve the 0 to 50 buffer. And then I think he was there for maybe that same week, a project for the Hyannisport Treatment Center. And they could not deal with the mitigation. They were constrained. And so for that, we ended up having, the Concom had a finding. And the finding was that the Hyannisport Treatment Facility was, it had societal benefits above and beyond the call of duty, or whatever we said. And so there are, as Jack suggested, times when society benefits at, and that there are needs for this and exceptions. I guess my question is, do we as a Concom have to make such a finding as we did with the Hyannisport waste treatment plant, that yes, you can cut the trees, but so that you don't end up, as Jeffrey is implying, you're being arbitrary. These guys get to do it and the other ones don't. So that's a question to you, I guess, Mr. Chairman. Do we need to do a finding?
I think it's an option that we can do that. And the other things too, we have to recognize this is a Eversource right of way with the transmission line. The reason that they're proposing to removing the tree is related to the fire hazardous with the voltage along the line. I mean, just like some fire in LA, we're trying to avoid. So,
yeah,
John.
Yeah, let me say that, Bill, I think that the finding in that other hearing was that it was a constrained lot. That was the necessary finding in order to grant the exceptions. With regard to this, it seems to me they have given clear, unequivocal evidence of the requirement, of the need to remove these trees for that level of power line. I don't think we need a finding that's evidence on the record to that extent. So I am more than satisfied the way that project is presented from, a consistency point of view.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Pete?
So I'm glad I sit on here with both a lawyer and another PhD scientist. I will concur with all that, but for my years here and this is my backyard. I go walking here. I'm fairly certain, Jack, as well, that these trees are not that big down in that and down that little bit of a hill going to the pond. It is, I think they're probably mostly 4 to 8 inch caliper trees. So cutting them and getting them out isn't going to be a Herculean task. I think it's clearly a overall benefit to be increasing our transmission lines here, and for the primary purpose of increasing our renewable energy output from the Cape. So I am 100% behind this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Any other question from the commissioner?
Yeah, Tom, is my last comment on this. Pete, I have to disagree with what you just said, because they're not 4 to 8 inch trees. If you go back and look at that list, I think the smallest tree was 9 inch and went up to as much as 14 inch. So they're double the size that you just described. And I understand it's your backyard, and that's fine. I don't agree with it. So
okay, it could be that I'm looking at them from the distance on top of the hill, looking down. And so yeah.
I mean, there's one 7-inch tree and one 9-inch tree. Every other tree is double digits, all the way up to 16 inch. Those are big trees, very big trees.
I have one last question, Tom.
Yeah,
so I guess actually that must be all the more reason we got to take them down, because they're getting up high enough into the lines, and we do worry about that fire jump. Thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, that concerning the right at the substation where you're putting in new structure 92, you have a plan to cut out a substantial amount of forest. And some of it is in the 50 to 100 foot buffer. I wondered, we don't have the jurisdiction beyond the 100 foot buffer, but you're cutting out quite a bit of woodland, which is adjacent to Oak Street. Just wondering, are you planning on, after you get this this new structure 92 in there, are you going to replant part of that square that you're basically going to completely level?
Peter, could you address that question?
Certainly. So part of that square will need to remain, right? So whenever we're putting in infrastructure, we want to make sure in case of emergency that we could access it. So there will be some sort of graded area that'll remain. However, some of that will revegetate. However, it will need to be in compliance with our vegetation management plan. So there will be no tree species that are able to grow up into the overhead transmission line that structure will be supporting, or again, mentioning the standards, anything within the distance required for that safety standard. So there will be things growing, but again, it'll be your lower shrub species.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem.
Did we lose Tom?
Yeah, did we lose Tom?
Tom is not here.
Louise, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Are there any public comments?
Way to go, Louise.
Seeing none.
None. Do I have a motion to accept this proposal?
To approve this project as submitted, I think.
As presented.
So
We'll need a revised plan with the showing the mitigation. If you could just do a revised plan showing that mitigation area, Jack.
Of course.
In color.
So Louise,
do I
I'm
have,
sorry.
beg your pardon? Do I have a motion?
Yeah, well, the motion would be to approve the plan as submitted, subject to receipt of the revised plan as had requested.
Okay, thank you, John. Do I
Second.
making that motion? John?
So moved, I guess.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Clerk, could you take the roll call, please?
You got it. Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Kashulik,
No.
Lee, are you back on? Tangney, aye. Sampu,
Aye.
that's a 5-1. Passes. Thank
Okay,
you, Madam
thank you.
Chair.
I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I read that, we need to have well, first of all, our next meeting is at 3:00, a week from today, which is the 11th of February. And, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Excuse me,
No,
Louise.
hold it.
We have-
There are three certificates that are being
Oh.
requested with eases.
Yes.
I could
Alright.
read those if you want, because I have it, or Ed could read them.
Please do.
Ed, you got them?
Yeah, okay, these are easy certificates for SE 35792, SE 36032, and SE 35934. All of those are easy, easy COCs.
I make a motion to issue those certificates.
Do I have a second?
Yep, second.
Roll
call.
Clerk? Oh, you're back, Tom?
I'm back.
Awesome.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney, aye. Sampu.
Aye.
That's unanimous, Mr. Chair.
We have two sets of minutes, January the 14th and January the 21st.
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second?
Roll call.
Abadili,
Abstain for January 14th, aye on January 21st.
got it. Foster,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney, aye. And Sampu.
I think I'm aye on the 14th, but I have to abstain because I think I missed the 21st.
Got it.
Right.
The minutes pass.
Our next hearing is 3:00 on February the 11th. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, did we take up all of the certificates of compliance this evening?
Yes, Jack, as yours for NSTAR Electric was that SE 36032.
Sorry to
That's
interrupt,
wonderful.
folks. Thank you all. Good night.
Good night.
Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Tangney, aye. Sampu,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Kashulik,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
That's unanimous. It's 7:42, Mr. Chair.